Hey, everybody, we've got a special announcement for you.
We do.
Before the episode starts, we just wanted to let everybody know that the upcoming season of RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars, Season 8, is upon us.
It's the 12th, May 12th. Friday.
12th, Friday. And
Paramount Plus.
Paramount Plus. We have decided that we will be doing a recap episode.
Because do you know what podcasts need is one more Drag Race recap.
Absolutely.
show.
We are filling the void. We saw that there was a need, and we said, hey, who better to fill it than us? You know what? It's our favorite show. It has been since 2009. And so, hey, we're just going to talk about it. You know, we're not going to critique drag because drag is an art, and art is what? Subjective.
Yes.
But we're here to recap it for you. So it's going to be over on our Patreon. And if you are a Patreon subscriber at the $5 or above level, then you will have access to all of our Drag Race All-Stars recaps.
Along with all of our other stuff that is on there, like the Watch With Us commentaries.
Absolutely. And the newsletters. So the first episode of the new season will be on our main feed. You'll be able to listen to that for free. And we're going to give you a little taste. Mm-hmm. And if you like it, maybe you'll get addicted.
We're like drug dealers.
Yeah. And then after that, you're going to have to pay us.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, head over to patreon.com/movies that made us gay for more information. But that's going to be starting very, very soon. So next week, May the 12th, Friday, is going to be the first episode. And the following Sunday...
Yeah, Sunday, Monday. I'm not quite sure when we're going to get them out.
Yeah, the new episode will be out. The bonus episode will be there.
We'll get on a good schedule as they start airing.
Yes, indeed. And so listen to us give our sparkling commentary on all of these wonderful queens who we love so much. So check that out very, very soon. But until then, the new episode is just about to start right now.
Well, nightclubs always have a certain core group of people who are fabulous, who dress up, get into clubs for free, and get all the free benefits of nightclub celebrity, free drinks, free admission. In the 80s, it was the celebutantes. These were kids on trust funds.
It was the 80s, and everything was proper and very rigid and very set and everything like that. And then Michael blew into town, and Michael was like this little baby Godzilla that was just stomping through clubland, destroying, we were all horrified. We were all just absolutely horrified of this little monster who had just come out of nowhere and was intent on taking our scene away from us.
You need me to promote this place.
We'll see.
You won't regret this.
You've gone too far with the drugs. They're the feds, and they're watching around the clock.
You're just paranoid.
Michael, where's my money?
Anything or anyone missing?
Angel.
You should just turn yourself in. I'm getting away with murder, and you're just jealous.
How do you do to support yourself?
He's a drug dealer. Don't you want to know how I got rid of the bum?
Okay, Mr. Psycho Killer. I'll play along. You're gonna have to pay for all of this.
Because of me, people know who you are. I decided to make you my first superstar.
Welcome back to the show, everyone.
Welcome back.
I'm very excited for this. I have been very excited for this.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun, interesting episode. A little break in the format because we've never officially done 2 movies.
Well,
on the pod.
Yes, we're doing 1.5 movies, maybe. Mm-hmm. But children, legendary children. My name's Pete.
And I'm Scott. And these are the movies that made us gay. Welcome back to the show. Yes. Like I said, we're going to be talking about 2 movies today with our friend Jesse from Cult Cinema Circle. Welcome onto the show.
Welcome to the show.
Hi, everybody. Oh, my God. I'm back, and I have even better audio now. I'm so excited.
You're really coming into your own on your show. I love it.
40 episodes, man. Wow. Like, it's crazy. I'm very happy with it, and I'm so glad to have started this and do it. Mm-hmm. And, not to give away any spoilers or whatever, but I'll be having you guys on soon, and I'm branching out to have other guests on. It's all good. But yeah, but thank you for having me on. I campaigned very hard to get on this episode, and I think we'll have a good conversation about it.
Absolutely. This conversation is going to be litty titty. These movies are wild.
We're going to have the Club Kid conversation because we double featured on the show Party Monster, the Shockumentary, and just the fictional. I mean, I guess just more of the theatrical release, Party Monster from 2003.
Yes.
Both are directed by
Fenton Bailey and Randy
Yes.
Barbado.
Very good.
Yes.
World of Wonder.
An Englishman and I think an Australian or something.
And early WoW. I mean, before WoW took over the world with RuPaul's Drag Race in 2009, they were making documentaries like Party Monster.
And the
Eyes of Tammy Faye. Don't forget about that.
And the Eyes of Tammy Faye, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so let's get into it. So we're going to start the show and talking about Party Monster, the Shockumentary, because it actually was not my introduction to the material. The 2003 movie was my introduction to the story, and I later discovered the documentary in college. So I'll go first for kind of first memories with this movie.
Sure.
This was a movie that I found off of Netflix discs in college. R.I.P. Netflix discs. If you want to get your last Netflix disc this summer, they're going to stop doing it later this year. But I think that I just found the documentary through browsing their catalog. And I was looking through LGBT cinema.
So you saw the documentary before you saw the theatrical movie?
I said I saw the theatrical movie before, but we're going to start the show talking about the documentary. Okay. So I watched the documentary off Netflix.
Yeah.
And so I had seen the movie and then kind of got a bigger scope of the events from the Shockumentary.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Pete, what about you?
I saw the Shockumentary first. Some good friends of mine had it. They, I think they rented it or they bought it. Somehow I just watched it, and we watched it as we were getting ready to go out to the club.
Fitting. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And it was something that I had all through high school, I had a subscription to Rolling Stone, and then in college, I got a subscription to Spin magazine. And
look at you with Spin.
Correct me if I'm wrong, universe, but I'm pretty sure that it was the December 96 issue of Spin, and it had Billy Corgan on the cover from the Smashing Pumpkins, and inside there was a Murder in Clubland article, and it was all about Michael, and he was there, and he was in like children's pajamas in front of like a carnival funhouse, right? Like a Moscow Circus kind of,
sure,
county fair funhouse. And it's him on a box wearing children's pajamas in front of this clubhouse. And the haunted house had a big like Night on Bald Mountain like gargoyle devil looming over Michael.
Now, is this something that would have been from like a club event, or was it an actual photo shoot?
It was a photo shoot, and
it was art, Scott. Okay.
It was, yeah. I mean, all the club events were art. But I remember reading this in 1996, so I had this image in my head, and I remember reading about the murder, about Angel, and about Michael, and all of this stuff, and reading these things about Michael being this like, kind of weird and terrible like personality and like admitting to the murder before he was arrested for it and weird things like that. And then the documentary came out and I was like, I just put two and two together. And then when the movie came out, we went and saw that. So I had seen the documentary first. Also, I remember MTV used to show Sex in the 90s.
I remember Sex in the 90s.
Sex in the 90s
Love that.
Was great. It was, listeners, if you're not familiar, it was like a half-hour special, like once a quarter, and they would just talk to people about, like, what are you doing? How are you getting your rocks off? And it would kind of be like HBO Real Sex, but skewed towards younger people.
God, Real Sex was everything, though. Oh, my God.
It was everything.
Jesus.
All the swinger parties and floppy penises. But so Sex in the 90s, they had one episode where it was kind of their Club Kid expose. And there was and I'll never forget, there was a guy who lived in Jersey and he was a car salesman by day. And it followed him home, and he went and he changed his clothes and he got on the train and he went to Limelight. And Michael's there, and like James is there, and like, Sushi, and like all these people, Richie, of course, they're all there. And it's just him saying, during the day, I sell cars, I wear a suit, blah, blah, blah. But at night, and him like riding a skateboard like to the subway and getting in to the club and just like, this is, gay, sex, crazy, heaven, whatever. And so all of that was kind of like in the ether in the late 90s at the time. I'm in LA. I'm a little too young for being in the club scene at that time. I would have been underage. So I never really crossed paths with like a club kid. I mean, there was definitely still a club kid aesthetic, even in LA to this day. But
yeah. I mean, Glamorous Monique is a thing.
Yeah.
Peter. So, I mean, just saying. Just talking like this, being unbotched. It's all good.
Do you know what I mean? So I had definitely had... and when we did go to clubs in LA, like I said, we didn't have the New York club kids, but we had Jeffree Star and we had Apollo Star and we had the Cobra Snake and we had all these people around. And for us, that was our celebrity. It was like, oh, I just smoked weed with like Kelly Osbourne in the bathroom. And like, I almost tripped over Jeffree Star's platform shoes, and this is pre-YouTube, all that stuff.
Who is the one that was really obsessed with our friend Jen?
That was Apollo Star, who was like just a club promoter, but he was kind of a great guy.
Wasn't Clint Catalyst another one that's like really still popular out there? Like he was kind of in that scene a little bit.
Yeah, and he's still around. I hadn't thought of that name in 20 years. But
listen, scene kid. I wasn't a scene kid, but I was obsessed. So like, of course, MySpace and all that. But I remember like, Jeffree Star, Clint Catalyst. If you could have like a fucking MySpace profile, like fucking whatever, it was great. But even there was something that predated that. Like you were talking about. So
So did you see the movie first or the documentary first or the theatrical film?
Yeah, so I am a young lad, and when this movie came out, I was 11, so I did not see it in the theater or anything.
Yeah,
but I think I probably saw it on Sundance or IFC channel first, and I saw the movie first.
Sure,
because of course I knew who Macaulay Culkin was from Richie Rich and like I'm not a Home Alone person, but I liked him Richie Rich.
I was going to say, Richie Rich, his big movie.
It was a big deal.
That one, and then like Seth Green I knew from Family Guy, I guess. I wasn't a Buffy person either. So like, I was like, oh, that guy. Oh, I think he's in, whatchamacallit, It. Like, okay, cool. But, I was like, oh, they're gay. They're playing gay people? What the hell is this movie? Like, that's my introduction to it. And then it wasn't until very, very recently I actually watched this documentary all the way through. I kind of knew about it, but for me, like, I always just had the movie. Like, kind of like in my, just kind of in my atmosphere and just knew about it.
Right.
And, it is just it's an odd thing, man. Like you were talking, because early WoW, this is before Drag Race was ever a thing and all that. And we'll talk about it probably, but this movie is both kind of good and kind of not good, honestly, too.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
We'll talk about it.
I mean, Rue has been part of the WoW family for a long time. Rue is there in all the Club Kids appearances on Geraldo. Rue narrates The Eyes of Tammy Faye, which was released in the year 2000. So this family has kind of been in the crew. So they're a legit part of this crew, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is, a lot of this footage was not actually their original and I cannot remember for the life of me. There's a guy in the New York late 80s, early 90s club scene, and his whole gig was that he's the one who documented all of this shit.
Yeah.
There was
Nelson Sullivan was, I think, his name.
Yeah.
I think that's who you're thinking of.
Yeah.
You can find a lot of his stuff on YouTube.
Yes, yes.
And a lot of what his was that he would just document his life.
He just had a camera.
He unfortunately passed away.
And Fenton and Randy just sort of got their hands on it.
Yeah. And all
they
that
also
footage,
called it World of Wonder. It was called Nelson Sullivan's World of Wonder.
Right.
And so you can only imagine that...
Yeah, but all that footage of Rue showing up in New York for the first time, and all that footage of him that's kind of famous footage now of him just like, stomping through the streets and everybody say love and all that stuff, it's all there. And this guy, shot it all at, and like I said, in the late 80s and the early 90s. The timeline of not only the Shockumentary, but of the feature film is so muddy.
Yeah.
It's so hard to nail down what the fuck year is it. The thing is, what we've nailed down is Micahel Alig, James St. James, and superstar DJ Keoki are all born in 1966.
Yeah.
Okay. Andy Warhol dies in 1987.
Kind of changed the downtown scene.
And that makes them roughly 21. Okay. So let's say that, Michael arrives in New York in 86 when he's 20, maybe 19, maybe 85, 86, right? That shit is wild. 1985?
Yeah.
And these motherfuckers, and Angel Melendez ultimately is killed in March of 96. So that's a good 10 years of Michael just
a little under a decade
ruling New York City. Right.
I find that conversation about New York nightlife to be really fascinating in the documentary when Michael Musto talks about the death of Andy Warhol really changing the party scene downtown, because this would have been coming off of the late 70s with disco.
Yeah.
And kind of going out in the clubs in New York, especially Studio 54, where the huge celebrities at the time, like Diana Ross, John Travolta, I mean, name Liza, name a huge celebrity in the late 70s and 80s, and they were the ones that you wanted to see at the club.
Right.
And Michael and his little group of shitheads just kind of supplanted them in the late 80s of, well, we didn't get to see. At least we got to see Micahel Alig tonight.
Brooke Shields was not out and about, but, these fucking idiots in platform shoes.
Yeah. I find that so interesting. So fascinating.
Yeah, I know.
Just sort of
but
the
like
evolution
I said,
of that.
Here in LA, even in the 2000s when I was going out, like I said too, we were not looking for there's fucking Ashton Kutcher. We knew we weren't going to see them, but we knew we could see Jeffree Star, and we knew that maybe Cobra Snake could take our Polaroid and it would end up on his website the next day, or Monday or whatever. And it's and when that shit happened, that was okay, bitch, go to Cobra Snake because so-and-so is there. And you're I was there that night. So it's occasionally we would see, and it was LA. We were in Hollywood, West Hollywood, Beverly Hills. Occasionally we'd see a celebrity, but to us it was more about, now MySpace is coming in, and now we're getting back into a celebutante era. This is the early days of all this is pre-Paris, and but we would go to a club and fucking Steve Aoki would just be DJing on a Tuesday, and it's oh, that's Steve Aoki, he's coming up. And it's now he's ridiculous.
Also, I think too, the difference between LA and New York or whatever. I mean, the thing is that you just have more of a per capita or whatever the hell, but more celebrities are just in LA,
right?
So
it's
people are very disaffected by it. They're just oh, girl, I saw this person out.
Yeah, you would see them, in the street. Yeah. So seeing them in the club,
then in New York, you don't see them as much. Right. They do live there, but it's you just. Yeah, and maybe at that time, like you were saying, Andy Warhol dies in the late 80s, and then you got to have something to take it over, right? So,
but it's so crazy too, because
opportunists, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But it's but AIDS is looming so large that it's I think one of the biggest kind of aspects of the club kid scene and the party scene in New York, drugs was very high on the list, but sex, obviously. Look at their costumes. Look at what they're wearing. It's we're here to celebrate sexuality and fluid sexuality and all
kind
this
of
stuff. But AIDS is huge.
AIDS is huge.
Yeah, it's still in the middle of it.
The Reagan administration in America, kind of coming off of that, going into the Bush years, rebelling against stuff like that. So it looks like in 1988, Peter Gatien hires Michael to promote nights at Limelight, Club USA, in the Tunnel.
Yeah. In 88. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a year after, roughly a year after Warhol dies, and Michael now is moving into his promoter phase and having some power. Okay. So, and again, this is something where in the movies, both movies, I'm just is it the 90s? I don't know. I can't tell. I can't tell.
Yeah, it's like it's the late 80s into the 90s, because I think that's when the club kids did have their heyday.
Yes.
And it was really that. So, yeah I think your timeline's right. I love the 60 Minutes Barbara Walters treatment on this. It's so
I mean,
nice.
hey, you have to get into the nitty-gritty.
Peter Gatien just looking like a Bond villain or somebody from like a JCVD movie.
Love it.
He just needs a cat to pet, or a pig, like in Spice World.
So there's a full Peter Gatien documentary, and I think that's on HBO Max or it's on something. And it kind of dovetails with the Shockumentary, because it fully goes into him and getting shut down by the feds and putting the padlock on Limelight and all of that stuff, and just but the crazy thing is, it's like, I feel like he's gotten away with like everything. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know how much Peter Gatien actually like took a fall for.
If he served any jail time, it was minimal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I want to talk about, we'll talk about it in when we get to the film proper, but I want to talk about Michael and to some extent James, but I feel like a lot of this falls on Michael. I want to talk about this kind of like lie that these club kids perpetuated. And the lie was, this is a place for everybody. This is a place for, if you feel different, if you ever got bullied, come and party with us and throw some glitter on that hump, honey, and like get on the dance floor. But the
bunch of bullshit.
But the reality was, no. If they didn't like you,
you're not even making it in through the door.
Yeah, you were a poser. And if you were too much of a poser, like Angel Melendez, then you know what I mean?
Oh, and also let's keep in mind too that let's just say let's call it out. The club kids are overwhelmingly white and Caucasian.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
yep.
And so isn't it funny that it's somehow, I'm just saying.
Donahue,
that's a thing too. And let's also not forget that James St. James is a trust fund baby.
Absolutely.
And he came from money.
Absolutely.
So let's be real on that.
Donahue was one of the only people to ask this question when, all the people in the audience are asking crazy questions and blah, blah, blah. And like, who gets in, who gets turned away if you're wearing a suit. But no, if you have good energy, like you can get in even if you're wearing a suit. That's just drag. No. Donahue straight up is like, and do black people get in? Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh yeah, totally. Everybody gets in. Like, it's so diverse. And it's like, look at the stage. There are 20 club kids on that stage and they're all white. Mm-hmm.
And isn't it
just pointed out?
Yeah. And isn't it interesting that the most Hispanic one ends up dead?
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So, interesting.
And
you want to perpetuate that?
Yeah. And we haven't talked about the wannabe club kids, or the people who kind of broke in. Gitsy, who later on becomes, is she his girlfriend, his muse? I don't know. Who knows? But this Gitsy character, this person, she's reading this letter from Michael from prison. And he says, I got raped by a spick in the shower. And she just, and it's like that kind of shit. That's some Jeffree Star shit right there. That's some like the casual racism. That's just like, aren't I outrageous? Mm-hmm. Aren't I so crazy over the top that I just like bandy about like racial slurs?
Don't take it so personal.
And it's just funny. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of that is Michael's personality of just like, look at me, look how wild I am. I just say anything, and it's like
I have no filter.
Yeah, but that But that just makes you an asshole.
Yeah, no, it really just makes him an asshole, and it makes him like fucking racist.
Yeah.
It's like, here's my thing about Micahel Alig. So I watched this Shockumentary, right?
Yeah,
and I was just like, really, like, how did anybody ever like this guy? Because I swear to God, like, I mean, like. And yeah, I don't understand it. I think he came off to me as somebody who very much was just a kid who was bullied, who, never really understood or wanted to really grow up.
Yes,
I guess.
Absolutely.
Peter Pan syndrome. Like, and he just like always was like you were saying, Pete, like, look at me, look how crazy I am. Look at this. And I'm just like, yeah, but then guess where you ended up?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sorry, but it's true.
Yeah.
We'll get into it.
The self-infantilization is crazy, first of all. But I do want to touch on your point that, like, especially in the documentary, you watch it and you're just like, all these people are pieces of shit. Each and every one of them. Brooke, don't even fucking get me started.
I love Brooke.
Hate her.
Brooke is such an asshole.
Why do you like her?
She's the worst.
asshole.
She's the worst. But I just find her interviews to be really funny.
They're
You like her piercings, is what
Yeah,
it is.
She's just such a kooky character.
you like
Let's be real.
you like the big box braids on a big fat white lady.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
But
oh,
no,
my God.
she's the
Anyway,
worst, though.
So, yeah.
Yeah, all these people are awful. James has some redeeming
The
qualities.
thing about James is that he's very charismatic, and it's why he's had this longevity, is that he might be an idiot, but he's also really fucking hilarious, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been able to spin it in a way where it's like, oh, look at me, I was just there, and da-da-da.
That's what I was going to say.
And
His
it's like,
hands
well,
are
you're
kinda
also
clean.
horrible, too. Like, you're also not great, but
Yeah.
but you didn't kill anybody, I guess. You just wrote about it for money.
Right, right. You know, but his hands are clean. I mean, the movie really paints him out to be like, I'm leaving. I'm not having any part of this. Where it's like,
Which didn't happen necessarily, and we'll get into the movie because Seth Green did a very good job, I think. But
I do want to talk about, and Scott and I were definitely talking about this, is their portrayal in the documentary and their portrayal of James and Michael as kind of the central relationship or friendship. You know, I think making the documentary into a narrative piece, they're using what they have.
They really have to zero in on their friendship.
Yeah.
Just because that's your way in as an audience member.
Well, the other interesting thing is the film says based on the book Disco Bloodbath by James St. James. It does not say it adapted from...
the documentary.
The documentary is not listed in the credits as an adaptation.
I mean, it is the directors of the documentary, so I guess that...
And they lift dialogue directly out of people's mouths and turn it into a narrative scene. You know, Keoki's sitting there saying like, "Oh, and I was just thinking blah blah blah," and then there they are saying it in the movie as if that's how it happened. When he's just relating to us, the audience, of this is what I remember.
They also used like literal archival footage for the subway.
They
scene.
did, yeah.
They just reused it from the Shockumentary.
It was too expensive to get everyone down in the New York subway. This movie was on a budget.
Yeah,
clearly,
and that's our only film appearance of who's that character that I love? He was Clara the chicken. Ernie Glam. Our only film appearance is Ernie Glam is the archival footage in the subway party, the outlaw parties.
Yes.
I love the whole note of
the costumes. Clara the chicken.
That's such a stupid club kid thing that if you were out at the club, you would think that would be fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
If you saw someone in a chicken suit in like a go-go cage.
Yeah. But
of course, because you're on drugs. You're on ketamine and acid and LSD.
And Ernie
of course
Glam,
you're going to think that shit's funny.
And Ernie Glam says, and I got chosen to be Clara the chicken. And it's like, okay, first of all, just dancing in a packed club in regular clothes is like death. Now you're in a fucking chicken suit. And
I mean, at least the Go-Go Boys get to dance in like a jockstrap.
Yeah. So it's like, so is that Michael's way of like, oh, Ernie, fuck that guy. Man, put him in the chicken suit. Do you know what I mean?
Maybe. You might be on something there because that's very true.
Because he's probably the one saying, you're going to do this, you're going to do this. When he wanted to punish James, like, you're going to be the drug child in a cage. All night long at the club, you have to be in a fucking cage. With the sign that says "Do not feed the drug child." It's like these are punishments.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. They're not sacraments, but whatever that other thing is, religious, whatever the hell,
penance. Yeah. And so Michael, his persona in the documentary is one of like. And this was in the article, the Spin article, and I read about it in different places. It's this thing where he would just go around, and Michael Musto talks about it. He just would go around and tell people, like, yeah, we killed Angel. Yeah, we did it. And then he'd be like, oh, hi, I'm just kidding.
I mean, there's footage in the documentary.
Yeah.
It's there.
Where he admits it.
Yeah.
And he's like, JK, LOL.
Yeah. And it says like 3 months before he was arrested.
So
it's like, what is that?
So for the Spin article, was he in jail?
I don't remember. This was 25 years ago.
Probably about to go on trial. And that's
I could
why,
probably find it.
And that's why they
probably.
Or it's just been arrested or indicted or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, so he really does come off as this kind of like, why are people following him? Why is he so charismatic? Because is he even charismatic?
And my thing about that when we were just watching clips of him on talk shows, is that he's not even a fun interview. Like, he just sits there and he doesn't even say anything. I mean, at least James is like a kooky character, and he's like kind of giving this colorful commentary, but whenever like Phil Donahue asks him a question, it's usually one short sentence of a response.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I also would like the viewers to know that I'm looking at your shirt right now, Scott, and it's "Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead." I love it. It's so good for this audio medium.
Yeah, another thing about these people being like pieces of shit in the documentary is that, you know, I guess the culmination of the scene and what kind of like brought it all tumbling down is the murder in Clubland, right? And it's like, okay, I get it. Angel was a drug dealer, but like, he's a fucking person, dude. Mm-hmm. Like, when his brother comes on in the movie,
yeah,
my God,
this
so sad.
His cute little mullet,
and you know,
oh my God, I love.
And you know, like, these people are telling these stories about like, and I heard that the body was like this and that, and they just keep referring to him as like the body, and like, and kind of laughing about it. And you're like, you know,
it's
you're
fucking
talking,
disgusting.
You know, you're talking about someone who actually was murdered. Brutally.
Yeah, literally.
And you're just being
literally.
Like, oh, and you know, he bought this TV so he could have this big box, and I got that TV. And
it's in my apartment right now.
That's not.
Yeah.
Don't
it's so
say
flippant
that.
and so disrespectful, and I don't understand it, and I don't care what fucking drugs you're on.
Yeah.
Like, that's so fucking crazy.
And so I always thought that Natasha Lyonne's characterization of Brooke was like, did she even watch the documentary? But I think she's kind of making her an idiot on purpose. I think she was like, fuck this bitch.
I really hope so.
Fuck this bitch. I'm going to make her look so stupid. And she kind of does.
No, and also not to jump too far ahead, but I mean, here's the thing though too, we'll talk about it. I mean, again, I'm a white gay guy, so whatever, but like, I mean, Michael got out of jail in 2015.
Yeah.
White privilege.
Yeah.
I'm just,
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Period. If he was any other kind of color, I guarantee you he probably would have been.
He's not making parole.
Longer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well,
just saying.
Both Michael and Freeze were offered a plea deal that if they accepted manslaughter and pleaded guilty for manslaughter, then it would be 10 to 20. And if it was like first degree murder in the first or whatever, it would have been life would have been on an option. You know,
right?
So they both took the plea and said, "Okay, we will plead guilty to manslaughter." And so he did. What did he do? 15 years, like 17 years.
Not
I
much.
think. Yeah, I think he did.
But again,
years.
my point still stands. I feel like because
absolutely.
Again,
if it was anybody else,
but you're right.
Would they have even gotten?
Like, you might as well get out.
Yeah. So you're absolutely right about that. And I mean, he did pass away in 2020 at the age of 56.
What year did he get out?
2015.
15, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
So he was 56 when he died.
Yep.
It's like he did a lot of drugs. Mm-hmm. And he did a lot of crazy drugs.
Well, and also the thing, too, with that is that, he died in 2020. And, again, I want to keep it light. I don't want to make it depressing or whatever. But it really also shows that, like, this is some of the shit that queer folks deal with. I mean, he's a horrible queer person and we don't claim him very much, but it's like, but no, he, at the end of the day, was a drug addict and he didn't really have any other skills to use after he got out.
Yeah.
So he tried going back to something that was honestly kind of dated at that point. And then he still ended up dying of a drug overdose. So it's still kind of sad because of like, he never actually got sober. 15 years in jail and you could never actually give up shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, and it kind of begs that question too, that when you do watch those Geraldo and Donahue episodes, a lot of the people in the audience are just like, what are you going to do with your life? Like, you can't do this forever, you know? And it's like James St. James is one person out of all those people, like Richie Rich, you know.
RuPaul is like her own special type of unicorn, too.
Richie Rich.
It's true,
Yep.
I don't know if Richie Rich had financial gains behind him to start Heatherette.
I think they went on to do Heatherette.
Yeah.
So that's something that like Richie Rich did, for example. And but a lot of these other people who are club kids. I mean, Amanda Lepore obviously being gorgeous, and
but there's a handful of them out of so many that are just like
exactly. There's only so many who actually would able, or maybe I think like Walt Paper. He strikes me as a guy who like probably went and like did something in fashion or some shit. You know what I mean? Maybe you go into that.
Walt's interviews in the documentary.
You didn't actually do anything bad. You were just a club kid.
Walt's interviews in the documentary are so funny.
Which ones?
He's the one who's like, right after the murder, Michael dyed his hair red with manic panic, and manic panic stains your hands.
He has the eye makeup, right?
And incidentally, so does blood. Yeah, he wears the eye makeup.
I love your imitation of it. It's so good.
He's like, I don't know. So does blood. But he's right, manic panic. And there's a scene in the movie of like Freeze is painting the walls red afterwards because
they got blood on the wall.
Yeah, they got blood on the wall, so they just painted the wall. These two fucking idiots like have no concept. Not only are they idiots, but they're high out of their minds. So they're just like, okay, well, we'll just fucking paint the walls and dye our hair, you know? Like, that's how we'll cover this shit up. But Michael and James are now going to become the kind of focal relationship. And it's like, I think the movie kind of gives them this kind of frenemy relationship. Like, James's whole thing is like, okay, I'll let you hang around with me, but I really don't like you.
So what are our backgrounds with the movie? Pete, you saw it in the theater. Did you see this at the Sunset 5?
No, I saw it at the Lamely in Pasadena.
Oh, okay.
The Playhouse. We saw this in the theater. Let me tell you, this fucking soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
To this movie.
I remember listening to the CD with you in your old truck.
Yeah,
when I first met you.
This fucking soundtrack was everything. We played it to death. We all went out and bought it, the CD, because that was when this came out. We knew the story was crazy. We knew, like we said, this whole impetus of this movie is someone's murder, and this is a real adaptation of real events. But the spectacle of Macaulay Culkin is back.
Well, that was a lot of press at the time because I remember when I was in high school. This came out when I was a senior. It was released September 5th, 2003. So senior year of high school. But I remember reading a lot of press right up to its premiere at Sundance, early 2003, that it was Mac's first movie since Richie Rich.
Yeah.
That they got Macaulay Culkin out of retirement. Seth Green's in it. Chloë Sevigny was
hot.
Very, very
she was
hot.
On fire.
In the early 2000s, right off of her Oscar nomination for Boys Don't Cry.
Yeah.
Chloë Sevigny, sort of club kid adjacent. She's a little younger than all of them, but very involved in sort of the New York club scene at the time.
Yeah, she's about a year older than me, and I think the thing is that she would just get in underage, you know, and people did get in underage if you were cool enough and whatever. And so the idea of all of these really cool people being involved. It's a queer story. There's gay people in it. There's men in wigs and makeup, and Marilyn Manson is there, and Macaulay Culkin, who had this career. He was the biggest child star in America, and he just said, I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm not going to act anymore.
After Richie Rich, he just walked away.
I'm not going to transition into being an adult actor. And this was his choice to come back. And I remember it was a huge fucking deal because Macaulay Culkin, his introduction in this movie is smoking crack and drag. And this is his huge mainstream comeback. And I was just like...
His return.
Work.
Return, Pete.
Work. I hate that word. It's return. I was just like, fucking work, bitch. Smoke that crack with your butt hanging out in bloody ass drag. With your eyebrows
absolutely
blocked, you know,
you might as well.
So it was fierce, all that stuff. But you know, and then I think we were just kind of like, we forgave the movie a lot of its shortcomings just because I was so excited about these mainstream actors portraying these queer fringe weirdos. You know, I was like, the club kids need to be seen. The club kids are so cool. Like, it's so underground. Everybody needs to know the story. So don't worry that Macaulay Culkin's performance is bananas.
Not great, in my opinion. Not good. Mm-hmm.
He has the look down. It just so
yeah.
happens that Micahel Alig looked like... Macaulay Culkin just looks like young Micahel Alig.
Yeah,
he just does.
it works.
They're both skinny. Really they're both that, all that.
There's some bizarre character choices, and I feel like Fenton and Randy, who directed it, probably not a lot of experience with major movies and working with actors. That
zero.
Yeah.
That I feel like Mac's performance just sort of...
It needed to be reined in.
Yeah. And I don't think that those two could do it.
Oh no, not at all. Because they did documentaries and then they've gone on to make, I'm sure, millions of dollars with Drag Race in some way. But this was just, it was crazy. Yeah. He was way better in Saved. Just saying, but
right,
it just was.
He made Saved.
And I could at least be like Roland.
Yep.
Okay, cool, but no.
Yeah, and Seth too. This is one of those things that is that like at the time were people saying that these roles were brave. Is it brave that the two of them are showing their asses in a movie?
Meanwhile, in 2023, I feel like these two would be dragged so hard. You couldn't cast both of these roles with these two.
Never. Mm-hmm. I'm just mad that this 90-minute movie about club kids, we only get to see Mac in a jockstrap once. Mm-hmm. You only get to see his bare ass in one shot.
I know. All
right,
why?
A lot more jockstraps in the scene.
All right. I mean, we've kind of hinted about our feelings about the movie, but confession, I had not watched this movie. I feel like maybe both of us watched it once, 10 years ago, but I have not really sat down and watched this movie probably since I rented it on DVD when I was working at the video store in Lewistown, and revisiting it now, I hated it. I did not like it. And I was kind of shocked of
live your truth.
Of how it revisited that. It's way better in my mind looking back on it. And it's also one of those things that when I first watched it in 2003, I went into it without a club kid context. And later the documentary helped immensely. And it does the movie kind of a big disservice if you go into it not really knowing anything. Because I feel like all of the events, they're not done very well, too. Mm-hmm.
Well, okay. First off, I have to say that this movie, like a lot of indie movies of the era, were shot on high definition video. Okay. And this is not shot on film. And when you watch high definition video from the early 2000s on a 4K HD TV,
it looks like garbage.
It looks like shit. Mm-hmm. It looks like a high
They
school,
also formatted it weird, where
weird
the ratio was weird too. I was watching on Peacock, and I was like, "What the hell is this? Like, what is going on?"
And you see that? I mean, all of those movies revisit like this. I mean, this was the same year as 28 Days Later. Danny Boyle shot 28 Days Later like this. Pieces of April, a movie that. Kind of, I have a soft spot for. We watch it every Thanksgiving. Yes. But that movie looks like trash.
Yeah, they look bad. They look like home movies.
They look like home movies.
And the problem with it is that something about film, I don't know, but even sitcoms now feel, I don't know. It just, you're watching it, and sometimes a lot of it is the script. A lot of it is their crazy over-the-top performances, like delivery, and then combined with the way it's shot just makes it feel like these little sketches we're going to put together.
It feels like a film school 101
yes, absolutely.
Class project.
Absolutely. But these are legitimate actors.
Yeah, I've seen the reviews on Letterboxd that say this is the weirdest RuPaul's Drag Race acting challenge.
Yes, it absolutely feels like that.
We mentioned that when we were watching it, that it gives us
Maxi Challenge.
It gives us Maxi Challenge acting.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I will give Seth Green a little bit of credit, though, because he does talk about this movie in a Vanity Fair video, I think, where he talks about his other films. And he did say, one of his things is he likes to bring a character that some people may not find very likable, and he wants to give them a heart. And in a way, I mean, this movie is not great, but he also, I think, out of him and Mac, I think is the better actor.
Yeah, sure.
Honestly. And I at least am like, okay, I don't think some of this actually happened, but like, you know, like, but I also think I'm just like, okay, but I care about that character where I'm just like, okay, you are trying to get out of this a little bit, or you have the wherewithal to understand that it's not good for you to drive a truck on drugs. And he's like, oh dear God, you know, and like, this kind of stuff where he's just like, well, Michael, I'm broke, you know, and like, I can't, what do you mean? Like, all this stuff. So I give him a little bit of credit of like, Seth Green, you are a better actor. So good for you. I'm happy.
Right. Okay. We didn't talk about, Michael's mother, Elkie.
We love Elkie. My little candy man.
My little candy man.
Oh my God! Is she Swedish or Danish?
She's
I don't know if
actually
she's
the
German.
woman. Elkie is German. Yeah, Elkie Alig is German.
I think it is.
Yeah, when you look it up on
Alig.
Wikipedia, it says that she was born in Germany.
Played by Diana Scarwood.
Diana Scarwood of Mommy Dearest.
From Mommy Dearest and Psycho 3.
I am not one of your fans.
Why did you adopt me? It's very good.
So the thing is, but that's another thing. This character, or this woman in the documentary is so kind of...
She has the most compelling interviews out of everyone, in my opinion.
She does. She's a little full of shit, but she...
But Michael's her son.
But
though.
Michael's her son, and you know, you kind of get that, and there's love there, and she really, but she does not give a fuck. She is not like, we don't know, blah blah blah. She's just like, he called me and said murder. Chopped him up in a little bit.
Something about Angel's dead murder. I didn't really get it.
Yeah, she is not holding back.
I did not understand. I just didn't understand.
Little tiny pieces and blood everywhere, and you're like, all right, Elkie, zip it. So the character's a lot more present in the documentary, and in the film, she's a little bit more sidelined. Diana Scarwood is funny, but when you do the research, those interviews are there. She's there on Geraldo saying like, "Oh, I had a headache, and he gave me a pill, and my headache went away."
Footage of her at Michael's
and she
birthday.
has that.
Yeah.
I was going to say, she has that dramatic part of the movie where, you know, she says, I came in a stretched limo and I'm not leaving, you know, whatever.
On a bus.
I'm not leaving on a bus, right? And so, yeah, Michael he pulled his mom through this bullshit. Like, are you kidding me? Like,
yeah, absolutely. And that's something specifically, another one of those instances where it's like there are lines of dialogue where they talk about something and then they kind of turn it into like an event, or
and you know what?
Fictional...
It's something that they do better in a movie like The Eyes of Tammy Faye that came out last year with Jessica Chastain, and that's what happens when Fenton and Randy handed off their documentary to people that actually make movies that can make a cohesive narrative script out of the events of their story. And don't get me wrong, like The Eyes of Tammy Faye also has its problems.
Flawed, yeah.
It's very flawed.
Yeah.
That sometimes I think it kind of mushes around some facts about Jim and Tammy. But for the most part, I think the movie works really well at building a narrative. And the best scenes of Tammy Faye is when they directly do scenes from the documentary.
Yeah.
That they're doing it
they're
doing it line for line. And
see, and that's what this didn't do. It didn't recreate shots from the documentary. It turned them into, they like retold the story as if that's how it happened.
Partly because they didn't actually film it.
Right.
Like they didn't actually follow around Michael for the documentary. They were taking other people's footage.
Yeah. So Scott pointed out as we're watching it, the character that Mac is giving us, the Micahel Alig that we see in the movie, where he was like, this isn't the Michael.
I don't think it is not. It isn't Michael.
It's not the same person.
It's not the same person
in the documentary.
And I think it was one of those things that they felt like, well, we got Macaulay Culkin, like beloved child actor. We can't make him seem unlikable. So they almost kind of made up this weird version of Michael. Yeah. Just out of fear of making him just off-putting. But that's the character of Micahel Alig. Is that Micahel Alig is a bad seed shithead. And they mention that numerous times in the documentary of just, you know, he was just kind of a terrible person.
Yeah.
That's how the documentary ends.
That's
James
the funniest
St. James
part.
literally says, like, he's always been awful. It just took people 10 years to realize. I'm like, yeah.
And it's kind of too bad that wasn't worked into the story, because that is a compelling character, is why were all of these people following around this person who was terrible?
Yeah.
And I think it was because we got this one to be the lead in the movie, and we can't make him unlikable.
You know, I remember at the time, though, a lot of people, especially a lot of my friends who were not familiar with the documentary, were like, we know Seth and Mac are straight, and they are playing these characters fucking wild. They were like, and my straight friends are like, don't you think that their portrayal is just like so crazy caricature, like, woo, we're gay, ha ha ha. And I was like, well, no, you guys don't get it, because when you watch the documentary, they're weird, they're wild. Because James St. James's delivery is very crazy. You know, his actual persona.
It's a very specific way of talking.
Yeah, but Seth is not doing that.
He's kind of doing it.
Yeah.
Slightly.
Yeah. So it did get flack at the time. You know, I know my friends were just like, what is going on? Why are they doing that?
Yeah, totally. And also, like, I think they toned down the drug use, apparently. They were like, well, that's what IMDb says, to take it with a grain of salt. But they even said, like, if we actually showed as much drugs as they did, they wouldn't believe it. And it's like, well, even in the documentary, like, Michael literally says, like, he was on all these different things every day. I think he said he roofied himself. Like, did he? Like,
he talks about, he says Rohypnol, and that's Rohypnol, and Rohypnol is roofies. Yeah. So,
like,
the thing
you're
about,
literally drooping yourself.
The thing about roofies is just that, if taken with alcohol, you pass out and you don't remember what happens. But I guess some people would want to do that. And I don't think really Michael and them drank that much. So I think it was just like,
no.
And in the documentary, there's even a girl, like, there's somebody interviewing a girl, and he's like, oh, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, can I talk about all that? Cake. And she says Rohypnol. And you're just like, that date rape drug? Why are you taking
like, you want to really do that to yourself? Like, okay.
But I don't know if it was something that they would remember or not. But that's something that James says. The first time I did K, I was like, why would I want to do this? Why would I want to feel like this? This is awful. And then
you're Queen Victoria wandering through Buckingham Palace.
Yeah, and then you're pouring it into your Pyrex, shoving it in the oven.
Can you believe that shit? I mean, I've never been really into doing any drugs, like weed on occasion if someone gives me like
a hit,
but Special K is like, that is some nasty shit.
Like breaking into vets' offices and like stealing horse tranquilizer.
That is hardcore.
Pouring it into the Pyrex and baking it in the oven, and then straight up just like,
who do you think figured that shit
Somebody
out?
invented that.
Some crackhead chemist. I don't know.
Yeah.
Some druggie who was like, just like, hey, or maybe some veterinarian who was like hating his life or her life and was like, yeah, let's just do this.
I specifically have memories of my friends and I when we first watched the doc, my friends Ray and Jen, when we were watching it together. The scene when they are cooking K in the oven and they cut to Michael and James opening the oven 20 times. Is it ready yet? Is it ready yet? Is it ready? Just constantly open, because they're just like, they need that fucking K. We're just like, oh my God, these fiends cannot wait however long it takes. And they're just opening it and looking and looking and looking. It's like, oh my God. And these shitty, disgusting New York apartments they're in.
That's something that they don't get right in the movie at all.
Filled with...
I agree.
It's just gross New York apartments.
Yeah. Filled with like clothes and like... children's toys on the walls and like weird shit. Like when you look at what's going on in the doc of Michael's apartment, it's fucking wild.
And then he somehow gets a penthouse, and I'm just like, I don't know if Peter Gay-Shit ever actually bought him a penthouse.
No,
like
that's
this.
too much.
Like,
yeah, that's too much.
Okay.
Okay, so Dylan McDermott as Peter Gay-Shit.
I mean, I guess. I love Dylan McDermott. I guess it works.
Let's go with it. A little too handsome, maybe.
He was on. What was his big? What was his big lawyer show that he was making around this time?
The Practice.
The Practice.
One of those. Yeah, I remember that. So I had read that the character of his wife,
played by
Mia Kushner, from Not Another Teen Movie.
I love her.
Mm-hmm.
I read that was originally cast and almost shot with Lucy Liu.
Oh, interesting.
And she
could have worked.
She quit. Yeah, and she quit, or she got fired. I don't remember what happened, but it was back in the days when Lucy Liu was difficult, quote unquote.
Yeah.
She had a period where she was difficult, and it was around that time. And they were like, and she was going to be in it, but she was replaced at the last minute by Mia Kushner. And I'm like, that would have been so fierce if it was Lucy Liu. I would have been scared of that bitch. So good. I would have been so scared of her if I was Micahel Alig. Been like, oh shit,
right? Like, wouldn't you? Like, yeah, that's the one Charlie's Angel. Like, I would be too.
My husband and I,
so cunt. I love her.
Yeah, my husband and I don't socialize with with the employees.
But Mia Kushner is also an icon.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm scared of her.
Like I'm Not Another Teen movies, like you were saying.
Yeah. I'm definitely scared of Mia Kushner.
Oh my God,
the L word,
fabulous.
Yeah.
The Black Dahlia. Yeah. There was a moment.
Yes. But I love every time they cut to Peter Gatien. It's because he's the owner of the Limelight, and the Limelight in New York City was famously in a church, right? And so his office is his office like in the belfry. There's like these like church like windows behind his desk. They're like, okay, Quasimodo, like Peter Gatien's office is like up in the towers in the belfry of the Limelight. I don't know.
Exactly.
Maybe it was probably a little bit more boring than that, but they needed to give us something, to dress it up a little bit. But yeah, so we get Dylan McDermott as Peter Gatien, which is fun casting.
We talked about Chloë Sevigny playing Gitsy, right?
Yes.
Michael's girlfriend, best friend. And Chloë Sevigny, of that, when I revisit this movie now, if I was her representation, I would be like, girl,
what the fuck are you doing in this?
What the fuck are you doing in this movie?
Yeah, I agree.
You're in it for 2 minutes.
You are in it for 2 minutes. You are doing 3 days worth of work on this movie.
Yeah.
I think that we can get you something a little better.
Yeah. She's got like no dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
She's also like kind of like made into like a teen in a weird way.
Yeah.
Like,
and it doesn't quite work.
The thing I got.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the real Gitsy is wild, first of all, because this chick,
the real Gitsy who died,
God.
died like probably a mere months after she did the interview with them.
Yeah,
yeah. Yes,
because it's written.
Also, weirdly enough, looks like Michelle Williams, like down
a little bit,
but a little bit more like trashy, like.
A little bit, yeah.
The real Gitsy looked a little. She looked a little trashy.
She looked a little rough. She was on heroin, by the way.
She looked a little rough. She was, She died of a drug overdose weeks after after her appearance in the movie. So yeah, you're right. You're right about that. But she did look a little rough.
I feel so bad for that young man who, in the documentary,
the boyfriend
was battling drugs. Mike, whatever his name was. And also, we have not touched on this yet, but they made Micahel Alig bi, apparently. I don't know. Like
that was our question. Like, is Gitsy his girlfriend? Is he having sex with her? Is it just like this relationship that they're just like?
Are they into water sports like that? I know he pissed on someone. He
pissed on everyone.
But like
Micahel Alig pissed
on everyone.
He made everyone drink his own piss. But so the pee drinker. Yeah, that whole situation, that scenario is questionable. I think to me, in 2023, it's just they were fascinated by each other. Michael just needed somebody to be obsessed with him, and he found that in her, and so he took her everywhere and adopted her.
Which is a really interesting relationship, not explored in the movie.
Yeah, because he does.
It's not. It's not at all.
Say like
he's made to be.
Yeah, because like he says to Kiyoki, "You can be my new boyfriend." He says the same thing to Gitsy. "You can be my girlfriend." So that implies to the audience, especially in 2004 or whenever this came out, that that's going to be their boyfriend and girlfriend. But exactly. I don't think that was the real relationship. And they did conflate the two, like you said. The drug addict guy from the very end of the documentary, who was Michael's final boyfriend,
right.
He was the one that Michael was with when he got arrested. But in the movie, they made it Gitsy. They pulled him out of bed with Gitsy. But in reality, he was with this boy, Michael. But that guy seemed like a piece of shit, too, because he was the one that was like, oh, freeze, fuck the body. And you're like, oh, my God. All right,
but I also, he was also going through drugs, and I think Michael just took him, like, whatever. I will go back to, yes, the pee drinker was there, but also there was the whole thing of how in the documentary, Brooke talks about how Michael pissed on some worker at Limelight or whatever.
Poor girl who was bartending.
She went to Peter to go complain, and then she got fired, and she thought it was funny.
Just cackling at it.
Awful. But that's the other thing. Like the Michael's friends, Lahoma, who was a drag queen, and she was I think she was a host at Limelight.
Who was not a piece of shit, I don't think.
No. She seems fine. Yeah.
Loved her.
Yeah, Lahoma
just kind of a fun club personality. Yes. Seemed like a very normal person.
Yeah. And she
was also in those Nelson Sullivan videos.
Yes.
She was also in some of those.
Yeah, absolutely. She goes way back with all of them. And Bunny and all of that. And Bunny's there in the documentary.
They're hosting the Hot Body contest,
Hot
right?
Body and King and Queen of Manhattan.
And this specifically was the party Disco 2000, right?
Yes, I think that was Disco 2000, yeah. Because that's where we get... and
I think those are at the Tunnel.
They show a flyer of Disco 2000, and it says at the top, December 1992. And that's where it says, like, in the documentary. So that's when that was kind of going around.
I think that they mock up the poster for Party Monster for that.
Well, it's the real
for that flyer.
The real poster. It's Jenny Talia, the bald. The real poster where she's eating Michael's brains.
Love her.
Yeah, she's eating Michael's brains, and she's got it on a fork, and she's completely bald. And then for the movie, they use Chloe, and she just has a little bob haircut.
And they're also they're eating honey, which is a reference to the party of the honey trap.
The honey trap. Yeah. So they kind of mix a lot of these metaphors. Jenny Talia is another fucking kook that you're just like,
love her.
Oh my god, you were
her and Screaming Rachel.
Oh, we haven't talked about Screaming Rachel.
Icon.
Okay, so break down Screaming Rachel. Like, who exactly is Screaming Rachel, and how does she fit into the events of the story?
Screaming Rachel is a lady who in New York was a part of this club scene in some way, shape, or form. And in the club scene, I think she snuck her way into a party one time.
Once.
And she got cozy with Michael, kind of. And she decided, kind of like how, Love Roller Coaster has the screaming in the back and all those urban legends you've ever heard. She decided that once all of this drama was going down with Michael and all them, she would release a single called Murder in Clubland. And it would literally have like a weird like track under it of like, where is Angel, Michael, or all this kind of shit. And they read her at the end of the documentary because she's trying to push this out, and they said that her sales are slim.
Saturday night. The tabloids sold out Michael, and Angel disappeared without a sight. Everybody's talking.
So one of you were shady for that.
Shade.
But it's fine. Shade, exactly. But that's who Screaming Rachel is. And apparently she was even friends with him up until his death, because apparently they would do like Zoom shit for club shit or whatever, and she was somebody who was invited.
Oh, interesting.
So, who knows?
Okay. That's because we were trying to locate. We were trying to track down Screaming Rachel. We wanted to find the track, but since sales were so slim, it's not
available on iTunes
on
yet.
Spotify.
Exactly. You can't get it. You can't get it on iTunes. Can't get it on Spotify.
Yeah,
you might have to pay someone on eBay to do it.
The shade of them putting that little postscript.
Love her. They did not include her in the movie.
Yeah, she's not in the theatrical.
Do we want to talk a little bit about the casting of Keoki?
Wilmer
would have been very hot at the time. That 70s show would have been currently airing. So Pete and I are revisiting that 70s show.
We're in the middle of a rewatch of that 70s show.
We're in the middle of a rewatch.
I love that for you guys.
Yes. You know what's wild about that 70s show that I never really thought about it? It was on from when I was in the 7th grade. It ended when I was a sophomore in college.
That shit lasted a long time.
That shit lasted a long time. And that is a good chunk of my young adult life that 70s show was just on the air.
That's why it's so beloved to most people your age, Scott.
And I kind of casually watched it just a little bit, but I never really...
So the interesting thing is that Seth and Mac both went on to do cameos on that 70s show. And Macaulay Culkin famously dated Mila Kunis for years.
They dated for almost a decade.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes,
so all that crew was all kind of intermingling and friends and incestuous and all that. And so it's it stands to reason Wilmer is a good choice.
It makes sense how he ends up involved just being mutual friends with some of these people.
The real DJ Keoki is South American. It's Venezuelan, Colombian, something like that. His name's Lopez. I just know he's not Mexican. He's not Mexican. He's not Puerto Rican.
He's not Puerto Rican.
He's a Mexican. No,
so.
He's a Venezuelan or Colombian, something like that. And so, okay, it stands to reason. Sure, we'll get Wilmer. He's the one brown guy in Hollywood in 2004. I don't like Wilmer Valderrama as a person, mostly because he was dating 17-year-olds when he was like 25.
Yeah, and also he's not a good actor either.
And he's kind of a terrible actor. In this movie, every line out of his mouth, trash.
Yeah. Not
Trash.
great.
Trash.
Mm-hmm.
So bad.
Not good.
Not good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God. It was not good. I was like,
was
you
hokey.
couldn't have gotten... Yeah, no. I mean, it was bad. Like, no. You're right, Pete. Valderrama is trash because don't date Lindsay Lohan when she's underage.
When she's 17 and you're 25. Come on.
But also, I watched this movie and I was like, oh, he's terrible.
Yeah, so
like,
bad.
why did we have him? Like, you could have easily gotten somebody who could have done this better. You could have got someone way better. I think you could have switched Wilson Cruz to be Keoki because he's a better actor.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also maybe get... I don't know. I wouldn't have been mad because he reminds me of him. The guy who played Angel on Broadway in the movie of Rent.
Okay.
You could have thrown him in here. Mm-hmm. He could have done it. Why
Sure.
not? They were all fucking 20-something-year-olds anyway.
They weren't like a co-lead on a big sitcom. That's why.
Yeah.
That's not.
You got to get asses in the seats.
They needed those names, baby. Names. Wilmer Valderrama is such a huge name.
Also, I feel like
miscast.
We love Wilson Cruz on the show. My My So-Called Life fan.
Yes.
But also the role of Angel in this script, like, unsatisfying.
There's not a lot there.
Yeah.
Nope.
And it's one of those things that's unfortunate. It's like what happened in the documentary is Angel is used as like not even a person. He's used as a stepping stone to these characters. He's used as a device, a plot device.
Exactly.
And so in this movie, this character that we could have really gotten to know more as a person and felt for a little bit more.
Yeah,
we don't really
his brother
anything.
calls him a faggot when he's watching like whatever the hell, and that's supposed to be like, ooh, he comes from this, ooh. But then he becomes. Yeah, that. Oh God.
Yeah.
See, here's the thing: is I know that like he was a club kid. I get it, but at the same time, I'm like, you didn't know this guy at all, did you? Like you don't. That's why he's underwritten because you didn't actually you didn't like him and you didn't know him, and you decided because he couldn't give you drugs or because you got in a fight with him, you decided to kill him.
Yeah.
Or he was upset because you were doing all of the drugs that he was dealing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing. It's like you just didn't like him. You thought he was a poser and he didn't fit in your crew, but you still did all his drugs. Yeah. You still invited him everywhere. You still, you still let him work.
No shit. He's going to be upset with you when Angel, we just did all your drugs.
Like, bitch, I got to pay. Yeah. If you don't pay for it, then I do out of my fucking asshole because my suppliers.
And also, here's the thing too: is that also I don't know how his economic situation was, and not to get deep or whatever, but like, I mean, why do you think he turned to selling drugs? Because he probably wasn't making a ton of money anyway.
Yeah,
and that was a way he could get some money where he could support a lifestyle in New York. Yeah. I'm like, it's just not to say you need to sell drugs to live in New York, kids, but I'm just saying like. Why do you think he turned to that? Because he was trying to... I wished better for Angel.
Absolutely.
I really do.
We get a little bit of it with, when he starts to show up. He shows up and he's like, he wants to get in the truck. And Michael's like, well, close the door and then you can come next time. And then he comes next time and he's like, oh, well, you're late. The party's over anyway. And then he comes next time and is like, But it's just, like I said, we don't get enough of it. And so we don't really... start to feel for or care for this character enough, and he does end up being used as a plot device to kind of further Michael's downfall. You know, we care more about Michael spiraling into overdoses and stuff than we do about. It's more about James finding out about the murder than the murder happening.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Kind of, right? You know, so it's unfortunate that happens, because at the end of the day, like we said, all these people are saying all this shit. This is a fucking person, man. It's like, I know he's a drug dealer, but it's like, come on. The one brown guy you got in the fucking movie.
Yeah.
Right.
You know? So, I don't know. That shit's wild. But, you know, doing the research, we said it a ton of times, but doing the research for this, we did go back and watch the Geraldos, the Donahues.
Could you imagine being these older women? And you're like coming
these
in
old
from
bitty blue hairs are sitting.
These old ladies that are coming in from like Jersey or something. They're going to go see a taping of like Geraldo.
Yeah.
And you get all these idiots.
And you
as
get the Club Kid episode.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Also, we have to say rest in peace, Jerry Springer.
I know.
R.I.P. Jerry.
Always.
Yeah. So the wild thing about the talk shows, there's one Geraldo that's got fucking everybody. It's got
who's in the Geraldo one?
Suzanne Barch. It's got, you know, Michael Musto, of course. He's in all of them. Michael Musto goes to everything they invite him to. But Suzanne Barch is there. In the audience, you have Zaldi. You have Amanda Lepore. You have the twins from Party Girl.
Hey, hello.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hello.
Do you have Turkish beer? We want Turkish beer. They're there. You know, Lahoma's sitting in the audience. All these people, of course, Richie Rich. And I always forget the other guy from Heatherette, because there was two of them. Jenny Talia is sitting up there on the dais with them. Michael Elke is in the audience. But like all these people that we kind of still know, you know, Rue is on the panel, and she's doing the whole "everybody say love." She's the same bullshit for 30 years. She's just sitting there, "Everybody say love," you know, and they're all saying love and all that stuff. And everybody's in drag, and you know, and there's two guys that get up and they're in business suits, and somebody else in the audience says, "I don't know about those guys. I think they're plants." Because they're in business suits and they're like, "We don't get it. You look weird."
Well, I never.
Yeah, and RuPaul is like, "And you're in drag," and it's, you know, all that stuff. But like all those people are there, and I was like, "It's Zaldi." And the only person I didn't see Matthew Anderson. But yeah, when Suzanne Barch was up there on stage with them, I was like, "Okay, bitch, this is real. This is everybody."
Yeah.
I know Ricky had them on a few times. But she was later.
She was later, and Johnny McGovern, Big Gay Pimp, would go on Ricky a lot.
Yeah.
He was kind of her, like, New York correspondent.
Yeah, he was her clubland.
When it came to that scene.
Yeah, because he was the gay pimp. Yeah. But all that shit is wild, and it's all there, and it's part of that whole, like, this narcissistic, like, everybody look at us. But then, like Scott was saying, they would sit there on stage and like,
especially Michael,
and Geraldo would ask them a question, and they'd be like, "So, you know, what's your day like?" And they'd be like, "Oh, we get up at 2, and then we get ready, and then we go to the club."
That's it.
You know, and like Geraldo would kind of let it go. Donahue wouldn't let it go.
Donahue wasn't having it.
Donahue was like, "Michael, this is a talk show. I need you to talk." And he's
like, "We need to make it interesting."
Yeah,
kid.
yeah.
God.
And Michael would just like roll his eyes and he'd be like, and I was just like, is that just him being an asshole? Like, I'm going to go on a talk show. I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah.
I'm not going to answer their questions. Is that just like him being like, I'm going to prank them? I don't know.
I do love the one line in Jawbreaker that brings me joy is when Jeff Conaway is talking to his literally 25-year-old daughter, Julie Benz, and she says, "You know, I was watching Oprah today, and do you know what they were talking about?" And she said, "Let me guess, Club Kids." And I'm like, in the universe of Jawbreaker, like Club Kids would be on Oprah.
That's funny.
Thank God, Darren Stein. But anyway, so I always love that too.
I don't think that Club Kids ever went on Oprah.
No, Oprah didn't.
It wasn't that type of show.
Yeah. But also because Geraldo, Donahue, and Ricky were out of New York.
Chicago.
Yeah.
Oprah's
in Chicago, so she wasn't having a Club Kids on there. But yeah, all that shit is real. Like, the scene in the movie, they kind of pulled from a lot of different
John
appearances.
Stamos is sort of the stand-in for the Geraldo.
Yeah. But they pulled a lot of different lines and different
And he's wearing
things.
the linebacker The linebacker look.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The football pads.
The football pads, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I feel like they also shot that on the Montel Williams set or something like that because it looked a little bit like it.
Oh my God.
Crazy.
Dead. It probably was. It probably was his existing talk show set, Montel. Oh my God. It was very gray. I love Montel Williams.
Yeah. And Jenny Jones. We love Jenny Jones.
I remember Jenny Jones.
When that guy killed that guy because he said he liked you.
It was the end of her show.
I say this every time after that happened. The show stayed on for about a year. Or maybe they let the season end. She was never the same. She always had a melancholy air about her, and I knew it. I could tell.
Sure.
I was like, "Oh, Jenny, oh Jenny, this sucks."
Jenny.
I think she kind of took a lot of that onto herself. Maybe we should.
And also Maury too. We also have Maury with the bad kids and the obviously who's your father and all that. You're not the father and all that. People also want to forget sometimes the is it a he or a she?
I was gonna say.
Oh, here's this.
Everybody remembers You're Not the Father, but Maury Povich that's a man. Maury.
Oh yeah,
had pageants, full on pageants, and I remember watching and seeing these women in bikinis, going, "How in the hell?" See, in a pre-Drag Race world, the art of drag and female impersonation, there was a lot of more illusion to the public. Mm-hmm. And so things like tucking
duct tape,
mm-hmm. pads, all that stuff, it wasn't widely known. So I would even see just RuPaul playing basketball with a bunch of schoolgirls in a bathing suit and just go, I know this is a man, but how does his body look like that? It's pads and it's tucking. It's like, oh, okay, but I don't know. You just don't think about it. Maybe it's because I was like a child, but all of that illusion was still built into drag. So we didn't really know what they were doing. We knew they were putting on makeup and wearing a wig, but all that between me down there and RuPaul showing up in a bathing suit, completely smooth and having hips, you're like, bitch, how is this happening? So seeing that kind of stuff,
and talk shows were just this new window into that whole world that a lot of the world was not really familiar with.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know if Rosie O'Donnell could have had them on her show if they were still around though.
It's not
because Rosie.
She wasn't that kind.
It's not Rose Brand.
Yeah,
it's not Rose Brand.
Ro was more of like a late night show. Celebrity guests.
We can get John Cameron Mitchell to go and sing a song from Hedwig, but that's it.
Yeah,
that's about it, right? Mm-hmm. And also she was also I like Rosie O'Donnell. I don't care.
I grew up on Rosie.
But I'm also a kid of the 90s, 2000s, where she was like the pinnacle of the Kids' Choice Awards. Mm-hmm. I mean, she did host it forever. Her brand was very much kind of friendly. She was in Harriet the Spy. She was in these things where tied to Nickelodeon a little bit too. And even though Nick was kind of fun during that time, it was a little subversive. But totally. But her show was starting right as this thing was happening.
Yeah.
So there's no way they could have done that at all.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's too subversive. So, okay. So I want to talk a little bit about Michael Musto from The Village Voice.
Yeah.
He's in the documentary. He's not in the movie. But I remember Michael Musto and just having an awareness of him as an 11, 12, 13-year-old, mostly because of MTV.
Sure.
He was on Sex in the 90s all the time.
You would see him as
House of Style.
You would see him as a talking head a lot.
Talking head on everything on MTV. And then now that I'm remembering it, okay, the talk show appearances as well. House of Style, he was on a lot. But Michael Musto was a columnist for The Village Voice, which is kind of like a would you say it's like a gay, is it a gay-leaning?
I don't think it's gay specific, but I think it is something where it's a lot more liberal.
Right.
It's more for Greenwich Village.
Right.
So it's very much talking to those people who are not heteronormative and all of that. Let's just say.
Yeah. And so he was a very prominent kind of figurehead in the club scene. And the story goes, he would hear Michael confess to killing Angel the way he does in the first 5 minutes of the shockumentary, right? And Michael Musto was like, you know what? Fuck this guy. This is too much. Like, this has, this has to come to an end. But the way that he went about it was a blind item.
Oh, interesting.
In the Village Voice. And they do it James reads it in the movie. Mr. Mess, Mr. Mess number 1 and Mr. Mess number 2 and drug dealer and all
scene
that.
At this club where one of them confessed to killing Angel.
Right. So he does it as a blind item. Then as the timeline goes, I have it. Hold on.
Yeah, I think it was also big, too, because Michael Musto was one of these people who, even though there were probably other gay folks in journalism at the time and all that stuff, I think he was somebody who at the time was very much out, which is probably how he got into this kind of thing, where he had that intimate knowledge of these folks as well.
Because the other thing, too, is that Michael Musto just kind of looks like this, like, schlubby Italian guy. He doesn't really, you know what I mean? He's not like a fabulous, like, club personality. So, but it's the thing is, he's an out gay man. He writes for the Village Voice. He has access.
Yeah.
He is quippy, he can be kind of smart.
And kind of a remnant from around when Warhol was still involved.
Because he looks
at this time
he looks older than these
so
kids.
he would have remembered sort of all of those central figures to New York nightlife.
Right. Okay, so in March of 96 is when Angel's murdered. In April, he reports the blind item to the Village Voice. The next day, the New York Post, which, take it with a grain of salt, page 6, they repost it. They report this murder mystery. Someone was killed.
And a lot of people in New York City read
the Post.
Page 6.
Yeah, and page 6. So, and then after that, the Post and page 6 in particular, they kind of follow up on it more and more. And this is this is April, I'm sorry. He's killed in March. It's not until September that the box washes up on the shore of the Hudson. And it's not until November that the remains are identified as Angel. And then by let's see, I don't know when Michael was arrested, but it's not until October of 97, a full year and a half after Angel's killed, that they ultimately plead guilty to manslaughter, and they get 10 to 20 each. We don't really know about Freeze, and lots not really kind of reported on him anymore because he's not really a celebrity. But we know that Michael was released in 2015 from 97. So that's kind of where the real story wraps up. Yeah, and like you were saying, it's like white guy, gets to plea down, gets 97 to 07 to 15. Let's see.
So it's a little under 15 years that he got for a crime where he literally poured Drano down a guy's mouth and cut him up and everything.
Yeah.
And kind of underwhelming when he gets out that, like, it's not like he had these pearls of wisdom of, like, I found the light, like, I spent some time reflecting on all of this. I don't think a lot of that happened. Right?
Yeah, he's just like, what's email? Well, there's another documentary.
What's this?
What's email? There's another documentary about Michael after he got out.
Yeah, it's on Tubi somewhere. I wouldn't want to watch it unless I'm just going to hate watch it or something.
But that, I mean,
is it like Michael figuring out what stuff like Grindr was or something? I don't know.
I think it was him. I feel like it was him. It's also overly long. It's like 2 hours or some shit like that, apparently. But I think it's more so just like him trying to figure out the world and like trying to get back into the club and all that shit, which obviously is unfortunately a dying industry anyway, because people don't want to go out of the house, myself included. I don't feel like going anywhere half the time. But, it's... So, that's what he's trying to do because he had no other skills except being an asshole.
Yeah. It was called Glory Days, DAZE. The Life and Times of Micahel Alig. It was from 2015, right after he was released. It says Netflix streaming, but I just did a search and it's not there.
Huh. No, I think you can find it on Tubi.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't think I want to watch that either.
Yeah. It's really interesting of just how the just kind of club kid culture ended up evolving, because it evolved with Drag Race. It evolved with WoW really capitalizing on RuPaul, on drag. I mean, Ru making drag so mainstream that it's definitely been a huge turning point in just LGBT history.
Oh, absolutely.
It is.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I guess that's
think,
just
like you were talking about earlier with people like Jeffree Star and these other people on the West Coast, I mean, it'd be ludicrous to say that it wasn't inspired by the club kids. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
just like how these people were definitely they were inspired by The Factory with Andy Warhol, of course. You know, I think a lot of those people who were the West Coast celebrities or these club celebrities or whatever, it definitely came from definitely came from those club kids. And as you were saying, now you have this club kid look. When people say, oh, we're doing a club kid night, you know what kind of aesthetic that is.
Yeah.
And all of that. And you get to capitalize off it in some way, I guess, because you also made the show that ended up making you millions of dollars. You know, so, I mean, of course. And so, but yeah, I think it's always important. And I'm glad I was able to, because I don't know if I'm going to cover this on my show because it's a little too true crime for me, and I don't like true crime podcasts like that. But you know, for me, like I definitely wanted to have this conversation with you guys because you're awesome. But like, you know, to get that perspective and to have some other people to talk with us about, because I do think, like you were saying, Scott, it's a movie that. It's not great. It's not very good. But it is this cornerstone of LGBT history, for better or worse.
It's a very specific moment in the community.
Yeah. And like you're saying, like right now, in like, I would say in like queer nightlife, at least in LA, it's like if Trixie Mattel is making an appearance, well, I'm not going to go to that because that's going to be a liner on the block, you know? But the thing is, you could also go to like a smaller, shittier gay bar on an off night and see somebody at a drag. And that's also like, oh shit. You know, so now our celebrities are like these Drag Race contestants and these Ru girls and all that, and it's like it's almost like this badge of honor to say like, oh well, we were somewhere and we saw Bianca just in street clothes.
Did we?
And we were sitting one table away from Bianca Del Rio. Yeah,
no,
and
because why would I?
Because
what would we say?
Hi.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Hi, I'm fucking 45 years old. What am I going to go up to another person? Hi. I enjoy your work.
I like your work.
You're not in drag right now. You're not working. Like, what's up? So, you know, we let that one be. But it's like but that becomes kind of like a little bit of like cachet, you know, when you're like, okay, a little bit of clout. Like I saw somebody at a drag, or I saw somebody, you know, at a club. Maybe they were in drag, but they weren't performing. They were just kind of like hosting or walking around or whatever. But the nightlife scene is very kind of, it's not oriented towards Drag Race, but when it's on, it does become a big cornerstone in like viewing parties and all of that. And it is very still tied to the club kid kind of era.
It is, yeah.
I mean, when we sometimes go to jockstrap or underwear night at like Precinct or the Eagle or something, I always think of James St. James's kind of Bible of how to promote a party.
Oh, his little rules.
That I always think of all the little rules because I totally see all that shit of the club promoter just walking around saying hi to everybody, and he's going to act like he remembers who you are, and that's going to make you feel good when you go because you're just like, oh, he just made me feel special. I'm included.
Yeah.
So,
and
that's like that is somebody who is a good club promoter.
Yeah. Because there are some promoters that we don't like.
The certain ones that will not.
Because they're overbearing, probably.
Are not even the ones that are overbearing, the ones that just ignore you.
Yeah.
That I
It's
like.
Well, that too.
I like
Bitch,
the one.
I know you know me. I'm
Like
here every
I like
fucking
the
week.
one that like works the room and says hi to everybody.
Yeah. I don't need drink tickets. I just need you to fucking acknowledge that I'm here.
Oh, you guys, meaning you're being a nice person to people?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
really?
like,
I didn't know that. Oh, well.
Because if I wasn't here, it'd be one less body at your shitty party, and what you want are the people in the door, and I'm one of them. So it's like, yeah, acknowledge us, say hi, and then move on.
We should probably run down James's rules of New York nightlife. Perception is reality. Always make an entrance. Make sure your outfit works both in black and white and is a conversation piece.
See, but that
Always make sure you stand to the right or whatever, I think.
I mean, that's a leftover from when newspapers were in black and white.
And when newspapers reported on society.
Yes.
The society pages, the all that shit. They don't do that anymore. They don't do that for nightlife.
Watch out for pushy busboys who don't know their place. That's kind of shady.
Well, he was talking about Michael.
Oh, okay.
He was talking about Michael.
Oh, I thought it was like busboys.
But Michael was working at Danceteria as a busboy.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, he was
Okay.
being shady. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned, it's all about photo placement. Always stand on the right. So the caption is James St. James and so and so.
blah, blah.
Yep. No publicity is bad publicity. Once something is printed, it automatically becomes true. So never dish anyone in print.
See, but that now is social media.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
If anything's
Don't wear
on-
white after Labor Day.
Never wear white after Labor Day. See, that's
And avoid that one like the plague.
the plague. See, that's James coming from money. Never wear white after Labor Day. That's his mother. That's like, you're rich, because nobody cares about that. Even then. Avoid Peter Gation like the plague. Never do heroin.
Never be seen drinking anything other than champagne.
Yeah.
Never take heroin.
All rules to live by.
Yep.
These are your life advice, kids.
Yeah,
there
absolutely.
you go. From the movies that made us gay
Yeah,
and me.
Yeah. That is a seat. Just really quickly, James St. James, wrote the book, and he was a big part of working with Randy and Fenton. He was a big part of making the movie, so he provided a lot of his wardrobe. But Seth Green is 5'4".
He's a tiny man. Short king.
They
Diminutive, yes.
So they had to take in a lot of James. And James, when you watch even the shockumentary, is like, what, a 28-inch waist? He's so thin because he's probably on drugs.
On drugs, yes.
So he's a small guy at the time. But Seth is swimming in these coats and blouses. Like, these clothes look so big on him.
They also apparently had like some of the stuff from the Club Kid era. Like they brought it with the costuming. So like you were saying with Seth, but like also like other people, they had the clothes. They were like, let's bring it on and we can actually use this authentically. And if that is true, I appreciate that.
And probably a lot of the extras were from just the New York club scene.
Yeah, they're all there.
At the
Amanda's
time
in
of
it.
filming.
So they were all just like, okay, I'll wear our drag from 10 years ago. Like, we still have it.
She's just like, yay, I'm getting money. Oh my God.
I just show up.
I love that.
I just show up, all done up, dance, do my thing, get paid, and I'm out. That's Amanda's words to live by.
Do you remember when we went to a New Year's Eve thing? I think it was going into 2018, and Amanda was supposed to be at the Globe Theater, and it was so packed that we just had to leave.
Yeah, we were like, fuck this.
Yeah.
I did not feel safe. It was so crowded.
It was so crazy that we had to peace out.
I was like, if anything happens, if a tray is spilt.
I would love to see Amanda, but no.
Yeah. No,
Nope.
I can't deal with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That
She
was-
doesn't seem as like, I don't think she's as much of a piece of shit or anything. I think she's just like
she's just Amanda. She's just in her own
gorgeous.
world. Yeah. That was a Boulay Brothers New Year's Eve event with Trixie Mattel DJing and Amanda Lepore making an appearance. Like I said, it was so crowded that I literally didn't feel safe. I didn't feel like I would be able to get out if anything happened. If I had to like use the bathroom. No, we were in line for the bathroom for like longer than we were there partying. It was crazy.
I mean, that's what happens when you put no entrance fee for a New Year's Eve party.
Yeah, it was free.
It was free.
I forgot about that. in downtown LA. Oh, it was crazy. We ended up going to Precinct and partying there.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah. But, I mean, this movie is definitely a time capsule.
It is an interesting rewatch. Yeah. If you remember this movie fondly, maybe not revisit this movie. Because if you want to
this is like how me and Pickens, we, on my show, did a Sorority Babes and Slimeball Bolorama episode. And I thought, it'd be fun because he likes trashy movies and all that. Friend of the pod, Pickens. And we both just hated it. We were just like, this movie sucks. It's so bad. So I feel good that I feel vindicated, and I feel that, this movie's not great. But you know what? Listen, they tried. And then they also sunk a bunch of money in this and didn't make that much back, which is unfortunate.
But it's like they sunk money into it where?
Yeah, where is it?
It looks like I made it. It doesn't
Who
look
knows?
Like,
I mean,
but renting that truck, I don't know. Like, what?
Getting Macaulay Culkin?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, yeah.
It doesn't look like they put too much money in it. And I think a lot of it does have to do with how it was shot. Just the visual aesthetic of it on video just makes it look a lot worse.
Yeah, but then also put in there that I don't think it was written very well.
Yeah,
and it was made by people who don't know how to direct.
Yeah.
It just was like,
but
also Daniel Franzese is in it, and that's really fun too.
Wild.
We were kind of gagged at that. Pre Mean Girls. Daniel,
Pre Mean Girls. Mm-hmm. He would think he was in Bully. I think he was probably in that.
Yeah,
I feel like he was in that.
Past guest of our show,
right after,
made an appearance. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. But yeah, I had completely forgotten. I was like, oh shit. I forgot.
Like, this guy, and he's also in the rat suit apparently too during his K trip.
Okay,
like that's him in there because
that's funny. Anyway. So he goes way back with WoW. All right, work.
Yeah, I think he does. Yeah, work. Get that check, girl.
Yeah, seriously. He is the hardest fucking working gay man in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm. He is. He stays his ass squarely in Hollywood, and he's just like riding that Mean Girls train as I would.
I mean, come on. Yeah, ride it till the wheels
break off. He was on Looking that one
off.
time, giving us that representation. Yeah. Good for you.
Yeah.
It's in this fucking movie.
Yeah, but I mean, for better or for worse, I feel like this movie is flawed, and we've pointed out many of them. But I think it was important at the time for just kind of representation and all of that. And it's nice to just look back at.
Yeah,
as a little like remember that.
I mean, it's currently on WoW Presents Plus, so you can watch this current season.
And it's on Tubi and Peacock as well. But please do not pay money for this movie, everybody.
You can catch up on the current Drag Race Hispana and then watch Party Monster.
Yeah, that's fun.
That's true. If you're already paying to watch Drag Race España, then
that's fine. But don't give this movie money. Like, don't rent it. You can find it on Tubi. It's been on there forever. So just don't do it. Yeah. Like, ugh. But I will say, like you were saying, I mean, it was cool. This is a movie I really did watch when I was like a kid, like a young person, and I was seeing gay people, and I was like, wow, that's really cool. Like, you know, all right, awesome. You know, I hadn't watched the other movies before this, so it's like, it's nice to have seen that. And, you know, we'll let you do it, girl. We'll let you have it. It's fine.
Neither of us have read James's book,
Disco Bloodbath,
formerly called Disco Bloodbath. I think it's just Party Monster.
It's just Party Monster.
I think they changed it. Yeah.
Which he hated, by the way. He hated that they changed it, apparently.
Yeah, but the
Disco Bloodbath is a better title.
It is a better.
It is.
Title. And the book that Seth is holding with the high heel, that was the original cover that I remember seeing at Tower Records.
Yes.
Being called Disco Bloodbath, but I have not read it, so I don't know. Maybe if it's out there, if you could find it, pick that up. Maybe that's a better retelling of this material from James. But who knows?
Let's go with that.
Let's just go with that.
We love watching This Is My Face with James St. James.
Welcome to my face.
Welcome to my face. And what's really fun about Transformations is that he gets to kind of interview all of these makeup artists, drag queens, people from the club scene, and just kind of have this fun little conversation as they're doing makeup.
Yeah.
I mean, it's shit like that. That is the longevity of James St. James, is that it's kind of branding yourself as this fun host.
Yeah.
That a lot of them didn't have.
Sure.
And that's why James has had this kind of, this interesting career. I mean, he showed up on like Top Model introducing challenges.
He did.
I mean, dancing down like Rodeo Drive in like a floor length maxi dress and a sports coat, ball headed. Yeah. James he's one of the ones that's getting some longevity out of it. And what do you do? When you're in your 50s now, it's like you got to keep working. Just got to keep hustling, man.
Exactly, and you're not dead yet, so
Yeah.
I mean, shit, make the most of it, I guess.
He may not have like any sinuses left because of all that.
And he might have a few brain cells where he's even said, like, listen, I was doing a lot of drugs back then.
Yeah. But yeah, Party Monster. Like we said, the film is on Tubi. The documentary is not really streaming anywhere. You will have to rent that if you want to watch the documentary. I would say maybe rent the doc. I don't know.
It's on
You
YouTube.
can find it on YouTube.
Oh, it's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube.
Never mind. It's on YouTube. Yeah. Just do that.
We bought it a few
rent
years
it.
ago.
We did. We bought it a few years ago. Just I think it's worth having in our collection. But I can't believe
It's under special interest in our iTunes library.
I thought it was under documentaries.
I think it's under special interest. Yeah.
But I
Because
can't.
it's gay, Pete. That's why.
That's a special interest. I can't believe we would have paid more than $10 for it though, because we might even got it for $5.99. But
That's apropos. I like that.
yeah. But that's Party Monster for you.
Jesse, thank you so much.
Thank
Do you
you
want
so
to? I mean, we've
much.
talked about your show. Did you want to?
Yeah, talk about it.
Talk
and
about it a
where
little
we
bit.
can
Thank you.
find it.
Well, thank you for having me on. Again, I'm very happy to ever come on this show and, talk with you guys. But yeah, so my show is Cult Cinema Circle. I started it back last August, and I have been producing, I've produced up to 40 episodes now. I do a weekly show. So I just cover movies that are considered cult classics. So I've covered everything from Jawbreaker, Romy Michelle, Frankenhooker, like horror movies. I have a horror movie slant, I guess, but
Sure.
I will cover whatever. I will be having these boys on soon
sure
for
will.
an episode we're going to do, which is going to be really fun on my show. And and come support it if you like cult classic movies or you like those kinds of films. Nothing too special going on over where I'm at. I talk about the movie, plot, production history, things like that, and I try to bring on some fun guests. So if you want to follow the show, you can follow it on Instagram at Cult Cinema Circle, Twitter. I don't really use a whole lot, but I do have one. It's Cult Cine Circle. And then on Letterboxd, I'm at Jesse Kremp, Jesse Kremp, all one word. You can go look at my stupid reviews of movies that I do on there. So that's pretty much what I do. And then you can catch me on YouTube, all the podcatchers, all that fun stuff.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to being on your program very, very soon. Talking about some fun
I'm watching a movie I've never seen before, and y'all know way more about it than I do. So I am interested to see how that conversation will
you
go.
want to talk about cult movies. This is it.
Yes, and influential as well, for sure.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much again for coming on. We'd love to have you on again in the future. But until then...
Of course, I'll badger you guys.
Yes, please do. Until then, we bid you adieu the old-fashioned way. Bye, friends.
Bye.
And thank you so much for listening, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Yes, indeed. I mean, we don't often do movies that we straight up say are terrible, but
Yeah, it doesn't happen all that much. I can think of View from the Top has probably been the worst movie that we've covered, but different type of movie, and also the first episode that we've had 2 movies that we've covered.
Yes, absolutely.
I like that. I would like to do it more.
But definitely fun, and I think these movies are still kind of worth a review if you haven't watched them in a while, just to get yourself up to speed. But yeah, Party Monster, a lot of fun. But I think it's probably about that time
For
in the
Patreon
episode.
shout-outs?
For some Patreon shout-outs. As always, we want to say hello, hey, hello.
Hey, hello.
And thank you so much to all of our wonderful patrons, including Andrew, Laura, Rhett, Mitch, Thomas, Dan C, Dan H, Tiffany, Frankfurter, Whirly Flower Frog, Lori, Brenna, Jessa Rabbit, Lawrence, Danielle, Lisa, Alexis, Thomas, Mark, Flemish Giant, Jackson, Millie, Darcy, Ted, Benny, Jermel, Melanie, Christopher, Russ, Seth, Alberto, Travis, Esperanza, Nicole, Chris, Susan, Barry, JJ, Amy, Leighton, Shelby, Merle, Jacob. Wait a minute. This is everybody. Fuck, didn't do it. need to do active payment.
I was going to say that's a pretty long list.
Yeah. 37. Yeah. There we go. All right. We'll start from the beginning again.
Yeah.
Because I don't know where it went.
Or just start reading them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Andrew, Laura, Rhett Mitch, Thomas, Dan C., Dan H., Whirly Flower Frog, Brenna, Jessa Rabbit, Lawrence, Danielle, Lisa, Alexis, Thomas, Mark, Jackson, Millie, Ted, Benny, Jermel, Melanie, Susan, JJ, Shelby, Michael, Heather, Jamie, Drew, Genevieve, Dawn, Joshua, Emma, Melly, Aaron, Jessica, Nick and Shannon, Christine, and finally Rufino. You guys,
thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We have a new venture like we spoke about at the beginning of the episode. So head over to Patreon to check out our recaps.
Yeah, we're going to be doing the new All-Stars season.
Mm-hmm. Our recaps to Drag Race All-Stars, that's going to be on there. And as well as all of the other supplemental material, including the monthly Watch With Us commentaries, bonus episodes, which are really, really fun. We record commentaries as the movie is playing, as we're watching the movie. So we give you instructions on how to sync it up to the movie. You can stream it. You can watch your DVD. And we give you instructions on how to sync our commentary to the movie itself. So you can listen to us talk as the movie's playing, which is really, really fun. Or you can just listen to it in your car, in your AirPods, and just listen to it as a bonus episode. And that's really fun as well. So either or.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun ones there.
2 ways to listen to those Watch With Us commentaries. And there's over 30 of those, you guys. And there's more, in the hopper coming out soon. So check out patreon.com/movies that made us gay for all that really fun stuff. We'd also love it if you, like and subscribe and follow the show and rate the show.
Yeah. Write us a nice review. We would love to read it.
Absolutely. If you listen on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, you can give us a 5-star rating. Just hit the 5 stars. That really helps us out. And those reviews are always really great. So leave us a review and we'll read it on an episode. You can follow us on the socials. We're at Movies That Made Us Gay on Instagram and Facebook.
And on Twitter at MTMUGPod.
Yes, indeed. And if you'd like to follow our personals, feel free. My name is Peter. I'm at Peter Lasagna on Instagram and Twitter.
And I'm Scott Youngballer on Instagram, and follow my letterbox.
Yes, indeed. So until next week, thank you so much, everybody. We'll
Bye.
see you next time. Bye.